Hey guys, we made it to season 5 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we aim to empower and embrace creativity through diversity as we dive into the fascinating stories and experiences of a diverse range of individuals, highlighting their unique perspectives and creative endeavors, from artists and entrepreneurs to innovators and activists. We celebrate the power of diversity in driving creativity and fostering positive change. Join us as we engage in thought-provoking conversations like
I made myself intentionally homeless in pursuit of my purpose.
We're aware that a lot of people want to present and they were in my position, and what's worse, they weren't a white male, which is a joke that's even still a thing.
I think my family never ever say you can't do something, so full of support for whatever dream. If I said tomorrow I want to fly to the moon, they'll probably say I wish you all the best, Mel.
So guys, I just want to say thank you for supporting the Us People podcast for the past 5 years, and we look forward to sharing another new theme song with you. Let's go.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Mottola and I am an actor, writer and director, and I am really pleased to tell you that you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks. Enjoy it.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I'm humbled to have Laura here with me. Laura is quite a creative person, and I love speaking to creative, calm people. And I can see Laura smiling already. So Laura is an actor, writer, and director, and it's quite unique because I haven't had a lot of actors on the show. And that's why, to me, this podcast is so important. Laura, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast. How are you?
Savia, thank you so much for having me. I am really honored to be here with you. It's been great meeting you so far, and I am really, really excited about this.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm humbled to have you on. So my first question that I love to ask every single guest who comes on the show to kind of mold them into the routine of the podcast is, I would love to know more about you, Laura. So could you tell me a bit about your background, where you grew up, but also how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Of course, that is a really great question. Thank you, Savia. So I am Italian, and I grew up in Italy, and I was in Italy since till I was 18 years old. I've always been a quite creative person, and I felt like I come from a very small town, so I think I should really say that because it really did impact me as a person so much, and as a creative, I would say too. So I always felt the need of doing something else, just leaving the small town and finding myself. It's probably a very genetic term, but it really applies to me in that case, in the big world. So I was 18 and I moved to London, all on my own, no family there. First time experience living on my own, and the good thing is that I already knew the language, so it was quite all right. And I had my first experiences in a working environment because I had just finished my high school, and I went straight into the big city, and not just an Italian big city, but a complete different country. And it was a very I'm 26 now, so I should probably say that it's been quite a while. I made London and the UK my home, and it's been ups and downs. It's been great at times. It's been difficult other times, and I loved every bit of it. In terms of my career, my artistic career, I would say that it came quite late, in a way that when you know that you want to do something, that you've got something to say, but you don't know exactly how you want to say it.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it was a little bit of trying here and there, saying what worked for me, and that's something that I really advise on doing to everyone. Just try everything. Don't say no. Don't stop yourself from trying. Do it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, that's absolutely fine. You've got nothing to lose just trying. And then probably when I was 21, I was like, okay, you know what? This is my calling. I want to be an actor. I want to be on stage. I want to be on camera, and I want to tell stories. I want to live 1,000 lives just in one. I'm not satisfied about just this one. I want to be me, and I want to be a lot of other people. So I took that seriously, and I started my training. I trained for 3 years, and the training really gave me a lot. Obviously, everyone approaches their artistic career in a very different way, and that's very important to say, because each of us has their unique path. So what I try to say all the time is, whatever works for you works for you. So basically, I started my training, and I learned so much. And I feel that for me, training really gave me the tools that I needed to take everything that was in here. And for those of you who cannot see me, I'm just pointing in my brain, um, and put it out there. So that's what I've been doing so far. I haven't stopped since. I had the chance to collaborate with a lot of great people, with a lot of great artists, and I traveled a lot of cities in Europe with different performances and shows, and it's been great so far. And I really cannot wait for everything else that will come my way.
And you've got a lot coming your way just by what you've just said just there.
Thank you so much, Savia.
I love that. So, one question, another one that I do like to ask, which is a bit more of a reflection question for you, actually, Laura, is who do you see in a mirror? When you look in a mirror, who do you see? But also, what does your reflection say back to you as an individual? But on the flip side of the question, has there
Mhm.
been a time in your life where you have looked in the mirror and you didn't recognize the person staring back at you?
Oh, oh, so many times. So I'll start with the beginning of the question, and that's, who do I see when I look in a mirror? And I would say, I see Laura, and she's a very interesting person at times. She can be very insecure. She can be very confident. She can be fierce. She she loves to do so many things, and sometimes she wants to do everything at the same time and end up doing nothing as well. That's a little bit me as well, so I'm not ashamed to say that. um I What I can say is that the person that I see, I like her, and I'm proud of her. A lot of times, I I'm a very insecure person, and that reflects back at me many times. You have ups and downs all the time, and it's okay too. I accept every moment that comes my way, and I deal with them as I go, and that's all I can do. And many times I don't recognize the person that I see. A lot of times I have let maybe my emotions and better, and take over my better judgment. I've been ashamed of myself, maybe, just because, as you said, looking at the mirror, not recognizing the person that I was, or that I wanted to be. Because sometimes, I feel like there is the person that you want to be, and then there is you striving
Yeah.
to become that person. And sometimes I wonder, am I the person I want to be, or am I the person that strives to be whoever I want to be? And that's probably an ongoing question for me, and maybe one day I'll find the answer. I'm really open to it, but so far this is who I am, and it's a person that I like at times, that I don't like other times, that I'm okay with. And sometimes she's funny, sometimes she's annoying. You know, she's a lot of things. So, but yeah, she's quite all right, I would say.
She sounds good to me.
Thank
Ah,
you.
to
When
me.
I meet her, I will know.
Let me meet her too. When you meet her, let me meet her too. That's cool. That sounds good to me. So let's break down your journey of being an actor, a writer, and director because they're all very heavily creative roles. You have to be, especially within your craft, in order for you to be an actor, a writer, a director, and you want to be the best, you have to be full on with any craft, I should actually say. I can't
Mhm.
just say those ones, but with any craft. But what I do want to ask you is I know that you went into them, but what drives you to go
Mm.
into them? How do you creatively say to yourself every single morning when you wake up, this is what you want to do?
Okay. Um, you know, it's a feeling for me. And again, I will never stress that enough. Creativity comes in so many different ways. When it comes to me, it's a feeling. There is an urge to say something. There is an urge to let certain feelings out. And a lot of people find a lot of different ways to get those feelings out. And that could be either creative or maybe those people can come those feelings, sorry, can come out in a more negative way. So I just try to to channel everything that I have in inside of my heart, my soul, and my brain, and I I take it with me with a character. I take it with me when I'm writing a script, when I'm writing a stage play, or I take it with me when I envision a piece that I want to direct. And motivation is very important. Reminding yourself why you've taken this path is very important. It's not just about I want to be an actor, I want to be a director. What drives you to do that is very important, and it comes through in your work. So what I would say to everyone as well that's listening to us is find your reason, find what drives you, because it changes everything. Your work is going to be perceived in a very specific way, and that's very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. So yeah, as I said, for me it's that feeling. Sometimes I have very dead periods of time where I just feel that there is no creativity left in me, and then other times I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I have to write this down. I have to, and I've done that so many times. When I was younger, I used to write songs as well. When I was trying out things, that, as I mentioned before, I actually thought I wanted to be a singer, and then I realized that I'm not a good singer.
Oh,
I was just like, the ugly truth. You've got to know your strengths sometimes. At least for me. At least for me. So I was just like, okay, that's not my thing. I should let that to someone else. But I used to write songs, and sometimes I just wake up in the middle of the night with a tune in my head. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing! This is amazing! And I would have a song completed in about 5 minutes.
whoa.
Um, yeah, yeah. It was almost like writing a poem for me, and everything that I write or that I do has a little bit of me and a little bit of everything else that is outside of me.
Yeah,
So there is a mixture of your nature and your nurture, if you want to say it that
yeah.
way. Um, so yeah, those are some of the things that drive me, I would say.
I love that. That's really actually inspiring as well. So my next question connects with the previous question. So could you break down the differences, especially when
Mhm.
creativity of being an actor, of being a writer, and being a director, because they all have their pros and cons. They all
Yeah.
have different elements of creativity within them all. Could you break
Mhm.
down the different elements of each one for you and how it fills a gap for you?
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So I feel like, those three things, and, creative roles in general, I feel like they're all connected in a way, but they're all very specific to themselves as well.
Yeah.
So just as in this case, actor, writer, director, it kind of feels like they all come as a package, but then you have to, pick each of them and go like, okay, now this is you, and this is you. So as an actor, you know, it's just about what I work with is the idea of being someone else, and I just really love that idea of trying out a different version of me.
Yeah.
I always see that as that's it's not completely someone else. That's still gonna be in some shape or form, still gonna be me. Probably maybe 10%, but it's gonna be me. And it's kind of like my own parallel universes of me being that complete different person. So that's how it works for me. That's what gets me into acting, and mostly stage acting as well. It's a sense of fulfillment, just being in front of an audience. And this is something that probably a lot of creatives and actors out there will really feel me when I say I miss that so much, because we've had a very rough time with
Yeah.
with live audiences. And it's so empowering, it's so beautiful to see people connect with your work. When you're doing a film, you don't actually see those people watching the film. If you could watch their reactions, it would be probably amazing. And somehow when you're in a theater, you feel them laugh, you feel them cry, or just cringe of something that you just said, and you're just like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And it feels amazing, and it's just really great to forget about everything else, and be there. It's a moment for me, strangely enough, it's a moment for me to be here and now. Here and now for me, it's very important. And I have spent my 26 years escaping from my here and now in my creative inner world. And acting is a way for me to be there in that specific moment.
Okay.
So that's what drives my acting. When it comes to directing, it's like, it's having a vision. It's having a vision and wanting to communicate it to others. So so it's just your way of, somehow is your way of seeing the world reflected in your work.
Yes.
And that's what it is for me. It's really, and what's really beautiful is that no matter how much you have your vision, the actors and the cast and everything else around it will still, you know shape that in a unique way, because you communicate your vision, and then other people still interpret it in their own way. So it's a fusion of people's reactions to things, and it's just magical. It's just really magical. And writing is probably the most challenging of the three things that I attempt to do. I'm just gonna say attempt, because we're all attempting to do something, somehow. So, and it's really challenging because it can be very frustrating. I am also a very self-aware and self-judgmental person. So I'm gonna pick everything that I do, and I'm gonna, rip it apart and then start all over again. I remember once I wrote something like 24 drafts of the same play. I'm sure that a lot of other people have done way worse than that, but I did. Yeah, I I was just not satisfied, and I kept on changing it till I managed to get the final product that I felt was closer to me. It was
Yeah.
excruciating, but it was really life consuming. But it paid out. It really paid out, and so in that sense, though, it's very hard. It really pays off as well. And again, it's very similar to directing in that sense, because once you write, then you have to leave everything else and let the other people that take over your piece of writing and do something about it. I feel like it's very important to also let other people interpret your work.
Yes.
Yes, it's great when you are an actor, writer, director, all at the same time, but it's also very good sometimes just to take something that you've done, give it to someone else, and see how they are gonna, interpret it in their own way. It's even a greater satisfaction sometimes, to be fair.
I was actually going to ask you, do you feel, because a lot of people I know who are, for instance, musicians or writers themselves and who write songs for other people, they feel like they're giving away a piece of them. And there's some
Oh,
people find it really, really hard to let go of their work or their craft. Is that, I know you said a little bit similar, that you sometimes do feel that way, but what do you do in order to say to yourself, you know what, I need to let go. I need to let go of my work and give it to somebody. So, like you said, so they can interpret it in their own way. But people feel so sensitive. Why do you think people are so sensitive about giving their work away?
oh, because it's a part of yourself. It's your sweat and tears all put together, and you just don't want people to tweak it their own way, and maybe have it send the wrong message. But because it can happen, everything is open to interpretation. So to be fair, even if you do it your own way, people are still going to interpret it their way. So that's one of the first things that I tell myself. Remember that everyone has got their own unique opinion. So you can never control 100% how other people will perceive your work. And for me, I feel like it's still a work in process. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm still learning how to let go of my work, and at this stage, I think that I'm at the point where I need to trust the person that I give it to.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, you know what? I know that you were gonna do it justice. I know that you were gonna do something very good about it, and I cannot wait to see your version of it. I haven't so far given my work to someone else that I didn't know at all, or didn't trust. So
fair enough.
probably one day I will, and I will let you know how that feels.
Oh. Another one I would love to ask is, what is it like being a woman actor? Um, the reason why I say this is because I've had discussions before with people about men being actors and women being actors also. Is there is there still discrimination against women who are actors? And the reason why I ask this is very
Mhm.
powerful for me to ask this question, because I feel that we need to talk about this more.
Oh,
And and I've always wanted to ask even more people, how do you feel being a woman actor? Do people discriminate against you because you are a woman? But also, do you feel that you have to work twice as hard to be able to get to where, for instance, a man is? Because I've heard this many times that men get paid twice as much as a woman actor, which I think is unfair.
oh
How do
yeah,
you?
oh yeah, well, that's absolutely true, and yes, it's one of those things that you can never say enough about this subject. Yes, of course, men get paid um, more than female actors. I feel like this is more relevant to screen acting than theater acting. And in that regard, I would say that being a female actor, it's sad to say, but in 2021, I still feel that there is a big objectification of the female in the film industry. I'm gonna talk about my home country, more than the UK. I would say, and for instance, in Italy, there are still a lot of, probably more than 50% of the female roles are either, if not background roles, but just very non-interesting female characters that don't don't do us justice, really
Yeah.
just don't do us justice. They're created in a way that everything that you see about them is their figure, their body appearance, their beauty, and and this objectification still goes on, has been going on for forever. And it's sad that we, at least there in Italy, we just don't talk enough about it yet, and it's very sad. um and and it's a struggle as well, even for actors that are looking for agents. There are certain standards. You are either the good looking girl, or you are the not good looking girl, and that's something that that really upsets me as well. Like, there is no such thing as good and bad looking people in general. There is just different people, and that is it.
I like that.
So we are all human beings, and we are all beautiful and unique in our own way. And a lot of castings and that come my way as well, just like we're looking for curvy, beautiful. They actually put beautiful as a requirement of the character. And I'm just like, what do you even mean by beautiful? How do you define beautiful?
Yeah.
What how I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
From according to me, I'm beautiful. You're beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. So how do you define beautiful? You know, and obviously I know what they mean when they say beautiful. The typical standard of of beauty of the 21st century. And it's just very upsetting that we are still at that point, and it's still okay to say certain things. It's just really, really upsetting and sad.
It
Yeah.
definitely is. It's so good that you've taken the time to put that out there to everyone, because I think a lot of people think the industry is changing, whereas I feel there are still, especially when I read articles about people in Hollywood,
Yeah.
women in Hollywood as well, because that's the worst. Um, where they treat you in a certain way, especially if you're
Yeah.
from certain countries as well, or you're a certain color as well. That plays another part as well. And
Yeah.
these are things that need to be addressed,
Yeah.
because I think people are afraid
Yeah.
to address them because they feel it might hurt their career, or it might hurt a certain person of power's ego. And that's what
Yeah.
we're dealing with egos.
Yeah.
Um where we as women, regardless if, for instance, I'm in the radio industry, you're in the acting industry, we as women need to stand up and say we're just as good, maybe even better at doing our jobs, at doing our jobs as you guys. There are guys who are on our side. It's not every guy. So I'll
Yeah.
say that from now. It's not every guy, but I'm so happy that you've said what you've said, because it will give other women that
Yeah.
power, because that's such an important thing.
Yeah.
Power can be used in so many different ways to be able to push them to be able to speak more.
Absolutely. And I would like to add something about it, because you said something very important about the Hollywood industry. which is the leading industry when it comes to film, and is how people that are of any different ethnicity or culture are typecast.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't talk enough about it. I'm Italian, and for me, there is a lot of doors that are closed to me because of me looking Mediterranean. So I am only good as long as I play the Italian stereotype, which is
Uh,
very, you see, like that is said. It doesn't happen so much in the theater industry, but when it comes to film, because I have, maybe because of my hair or my body type or my accent as well, which, by the way, just saying, can be trained. A lot of actors that are non-British or non-American just change their accent very easily, and they manage to do it. Everything can be learned as a skill. So why stop other very talented people from reaching out and doing something much more relevant in their careers just because they are of a different ethnicity? And it's very that's probably even more upsetting than anything else, because you just feel that you're being treated differently because of where you come from, because I don't have a probably US passport or a British one. And that is, you should judge someone based on their talent,
yeah.
not on anything else, not anything else at all.
Do you think it's the ignorance of the people who have been in the industry for years that are that way? And they're like the gatekeepers. So they have the key to let you in, and they're not letting anybody else in unless they have the same type of mentality as they do. How are we going to stop? How do you
Mhm.
feel that we stop this?
Well, you said something really good. They're the gatekeepers, so it's definitely ignorance, but it's also fear. It's fear of
Yes.
being taken over, you know so it's when someone feels threatened, they're just gonna take a step back and shut the doors and be like, nah, you're not coming any further, because I want to be the one that's still in charge. So, well, to be fair, how can we change that? Mm, for once, I said to myself, if no one gives me a job, I'm gonna create a job for myself and
Yes.
put it out there. And I'm gonna do what feels right and truthful to me, whether you as a casting director or, let's say, gatekeeper, want to let me in or not. You're not gonna stop me from creating my art and challenging myself beyond that stereotype that you want to give me, that stereotype, whether it is a female stereotype or a specific ethnicity stereotype or anything else. So yeah, that's what I tell my, and then obviously awareness. Let's talk about it more. Let's put it out there. Let's continue educating people. And that's probably the key to everything.
I like that. That's great advice there. That's definitely great advice. How do you train yourself? Because that's something I would love to know. You talk about being different characters and being different roles, and you love taking yourself from the present
Mhm.
into another scene or another character. How
Yeah,
do you do that? So if somebody, say you write your own script, forget everybody else's for a second.
yeah.
Say you write your own scripts, which you do, and you're
Mhm.
directing them. How do you work at your craft to be able to be the best that you can be, but also just for people who want to become an actor, what
Mhm.
advice would you give them about being able to be different characters and adapt yourself to be these different characters?
Okay. So I will start by saying that you're still going to be using a little bit of you, as I was mentioning before. You're still going to be using a little bit of you in everything that you do. You just have to find that aspect of you that can link to what you feel the character is. We as human beings, we have infinite, shapes of ourselves and our souls, right? So it's kind of like everything is there. You just have to dig a little bit and find what you need and let it out. So when it comes to me, I obviously, I read my character over and over. I try to understand why she does the things that she does within the story. The character's action tell you a lot about who the character is, just like our actions tell us to tell other people who we are.
Yes.
So by that you can trace back what is your idea of her, of the character. What are her traits? What's her personality like? How she relates to the other characters as well, and why she says the things that she says. I feel like it's very important to ask yourself questions about your character. Obviously, you know everyone, again, I'm never going to say that enough, everyone does it their own way, but when it comes to me, I feel that learning about your character is very important as well. Obviously, that you mentioned the work that I would do, so something that I would write. In that case, I already have an idea of what the character
Yeah.
is like. So when I'm conceiving a character, I'm like, okay, this is the kind of person that you are.
Yeah.
So there is already a little bit of background, and then I work it out as I rehearse. So I'm obviously mostly talking about theater acting in this aspect. And rehearsals say a lot about your character, because as soon as you become familiar with what your character says and what your character does on stage, then it becomes truthful. Then it becomes very organic, and that's the point where you fit into the shoes, and it feels just right to it flows, it flows, it just does.
I like that. Hey, how do you work with somebody that you don't necessarily get along with? I know you said you've worked with so many people, but one fundamental question I would love to ask, I think it was there was a movie where two actors didn't get along, but because they didn't get along, their chemistry made the movie a success. But in your terms and just in your opinion, have you ever worked with somebody who you don't necessarily get along? How did you make it work?
Right. So I will have to relate with what you just said as well about the chemistry happening right because there was a little bit of a conflict in there. From conflict there is a lot of things that can happen. I feel like conflict can be very positive at times. It
Yeah.
depends how you approach it. In my case, I did have to work. Unfortunately, I will say unfortunately, because it's never good to have a negative relationship with someone. So I do not encourage it. But yes, so I had to work with someone that I wasn't really going along with. But first of all, there is stage one, that's professionalism. This is
Yes.
us, and that's our characters. The moment you step on stage or behind the camera, you have to forget about everything that happened to you. Anything that is not relevant to that specific moment. I get back to the here and now, that I
Yeah.
was mentioning before. I get into the here and now. It's presence. I am present here and now, and I am this character. So I forget about everything else that hasn't anything to do with it and doesn't relate with it. So that's me when it comes to that. But as well, recently, I would say it recently happened as well. And one of my latest pieces before, obviously, the pandemic happened. Um, and actually the conflict that I had with my coworker um, helped our characters because we were not supposed to be friends. We were,
Ah,
so that actually worked in our favor. The animosity was genuine in a way, so I guess it served the purpose. And yeah, but that's what I say. On a general level, you have to forget about everything that doesn't belong to your character, and just be professional, because yes, you've got to enjoy what you're doing, but it's also your profession, and you have to take it seriously.
that's true. I like that. What is the best advice somebody has ever given you, and how have you taken that advice throughout your life and your work?
Right. I will say that I was doing my acting degree at that time, and my teacher, my tutor, he came to me and he said, "You have to remember this. Don't try and do everything 100%. Sometimes it's fine to do something 95% and keep 5% for something else." Because there was probably a moment in my life when I strived for everything, and I didn't quite do well in everything that I was doing, and that's you know and sometimes you have to make a choice. What is it that you want to focus on at this specific moment in time? What is it that you really want to put your energy towards, and maybe just accept that the other things around can come out just a little bit, a little bit
Yeah.
okay, but you do one good thing. And I feel like that was very, very important for me, because I am a person that says yes to everything. I am like, yeah, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll help you. And it can be a great thing, and it can also backfire very easily, because
Oh, I know. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like you can relate
Yep.
to that. Yeah, so probably you will understand me when I say that sometimes it's important to say no as well. It's important to take time for yourself, and it's important to accept that you might not excel in everything, but you can pick and choose what you want to excel in, and maybe be okay in a few other things.
I like that. That's good advice, guys. I think you guys should take it. If you guys should take it. So let's talk a bit more about, if you could name one film,
Hmm.
the best film that you've ever watched because it inspired you also to be creative and do better work for yourself. What one movie would you choose? Do you have any movies in mind?
Oh, I was just like, bombarded by all the movies that I had in mind, because this happens to me so many times. I watch a film, I'm like, I want to do that. Yes. It just sparks something in me, and that's amazing. But for the purpose of the question, I will pick one, and it's Dead Poet Society. And it's a film, you know that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Robin Williams, and just one of my favorite actors. He's that's another story, but he's amazing. So I'm not gonna go on and on about how much I love him and venerate him. But I was probably around. I still remember it because that was a turning point in my life. So I was probably around 15 or 16, and that was the first time that I watched that film, and I was in absolute tears. I loved every second of that film. It was inspiring, it was life changing. It was, you know, because the film was all about doing what you're passionate about, fighting for what you want, and taking your feelings and your emotion and putting them out there and creating something beautiful with them, and it really resonated with me. And that same day I actually wrote my first song and poem as well. So it was the same day that I watched the film. I was crying and I was just like, then I was wandering around my house and I was like, you know brain on fire, this is it, something's happening to me. And I started writing and I never stopped ever since, even though I started writing songs because I felt that that's what my my creativity was taking me at that stage. And then I attempted writing my first short film script when I was probably just a year later, and then I continued on that path.
See, I
Yeah.
like that. You got me thinking, so I was writing down at the same time.
Mhm.
Head question, okay? I wrote it down quickly because I was like, I must ask it.
Okay.
So, if you was ever at a film festival,
Hmm.
what do you believe? Okay, let me say it again in another way. If I gave you an unlimited budget of money
Mm.
and you had the power to make any short film to inspire people
Yeah.
in a film festival, what would you create? I know I'm putting you on the spot with creativity now, but what would you create to help even the next generation coming in, or even just people in general? Let's not categorize it.
Hmm.
Let's just say people in general. What would you create to inspire people?
Right. You know what? I feel like when it comes to me, I always tell myself, tell a story that you feel you can connect with.
True.
Something that I know, I know what I'm talking about. It's great to strive for something different and do your research, but the truthful works for me comes from something that has deeply touched you as well. So when it comes to me, I would want to create something that tells the story of how it is to live in the small town that I grew up in. And I grew up with surrounded by prejudice, surrounded by stereotypes, and obviously it was also a different time. And consider that we are in 2021 now, but where I come from, just put the clock back 30 years, and then you'll kind of realize what it is. So it's a very obviously small towns are very similar in a path of small-minded people and closed mentality, um, judgmental, and very very everyone wants to know your business and everyone wants to talk about
Ah,
you. And so I would really want to write a story about this, about how a society like this can be very toxic. you know that society was very toxic to me, and that was definitely a reason to escape. But at the same time, I thank that society in the same way that you made me want to be this, in a way. So it's kind of like love and hate, and that's going to be forever like this. I feel that that's what I'm going to feel for my hometown. And I would want to talk about it. I would want to tell the story of a young person or a young group of people that strive to be different in a society that wants you to conform. And when I say different, I'm just going to have to say I'm just going to have to clear that out, because what is different? What I mean to say by that is, just not conforming to what other people want to make of you, and being true to yourself.
yeah, I agree.
And that's a kind of journey that I feel that one day I I will write about. But when the right time will come and I will feel ready enough to write that story, I already feel it in my heart that it's there, but someday it's gonna pour out.
It will come soon. I have a saying that I say. So it's one of those things where I turn around and say, people who have time to talk about you and your life don't want to reflect on their life and their insecurities. They don't want to. So what they do is they cover their
Yes.
insecurities by reflecting on other people's business.
Yes. Yes. I absolutely agree with you, Savia. You know, and that really sums up everything about this society that I grew up in. And insecure people are also going to try to make you insecure, and they're going to try
Exactly.
to make you question yourself. And you know, and that's when you come in and have to make the active decision of keeping, you know, nicely and calmly away from anything that can just, you know, spoil your peace and your inner self and your truthful self.
That's true. I learned that it was a hard teaching for
Mm-hmm.
me to be able to turn around. And sometimes, the worst thing about it is the people who are closest to you that do it the worst to you.
Oh
And, and you're like, what? And
yeah,
because you're so naive, because your heart is so pure, you as a person wouldn't think that that person would do it. But
yeah,
they do. They do it worse and it sticks with you. And
oh
it
yeah,
does make you insecure for a long period of time. And it's not your fault. You have feelings, you have emotions. Embrace your emotions because your emotions teach you how to go to the next level, to evolve. And evolving is one of the best things you can do in your life. Is
absolutely,
evolve.
absolutely.
Definitely. It's hard to go on to the next subject now because I'm so stuck on that one.
We can
It's
continue talking about it. You know what? It's just so intense. And you said something amazing, and that's evolving. And that is one of the things that that a lot of people don't understand. That we are never one and the same. We are ever changing and evolving into different people, and that's what makes us amazing, you know. And some I'm not sure if, you know, the people that are listening to us as well as yourself can relate to this, but there is a lot of people that I might have met in my life, and
yeah.
friends for many years, and then they come to you and they say, you've changed. I don't,
Yes.
you know, and I'm like, yes, I have. And I am allowed to do that. And if you've stayed the same as you were 10 years ago, then you should ask yourself some questions, because
Exactly.
my life and experiences have made me who I am today. And 5 years from now and 10 years from now, I will be a complete different person, probably from who I am today, because I will have had 10 more years to get a lot more experiences and things advising me to be that person. So, you know, don't question me, question yourself.
See, I would put that on a t-shirt.
Let's do it.
I,
I love that.
I think we're gonna have to put it on a t-shirt. That's a good idea.
I
If you
would.
get a t-shirt in the post, you know who it came from. Okay.
Love it.
Oh, dear. So if there was one question that
Mhm.
you wish more people would ask you, but they never really ask you the question at all, because there's always something that we want people to ask us, but they never really ask us that question. What would you like someone to ask you and why?
Ooh, that is a very interesting question, actually. Um, well, you know, you've actually asked me a lot of the things that I wanted to, you know, to talk about, like, you know, but in general, probably I would say that definitely, you know, what informed my choices of, and something that we recently just talked about in our podcast, but you know, it's just what informed my creative self, what inspired me to become the person that I am. I feel like it's very, a lot of people might not really care about where you come from and how you got to this point. And for me, I'm like, that is so much part of who I am right now that I would like to talk about it.
Exactly.
So yeah, that would be the one.
Cool. I like that. Which we kind of have spoken about it in a way. We have kind of.
We have.
So I'm so proud we have as well, because there's so many things that we have spoken about today,
Yeah.
which I find so cool. So I have two more for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone so quickly, and I've enjoyed every single second of it. But my second, it has. Do you know when you have a podcast with someone and it flows really nicely and it flows really smooth and easy, and the time just flies by? And that's definitely
I know. And, it's just really beautiful to have an open conversation about being human beings and being, just the best version that we can be of ourselves right now. It's just,
exactly.
it's just very heartwarming. And I've really, really, I'm enjoying it so much, Savi. I have to say that I'm really enjoying this. I don't know if you can see my excitement, but I am excited. I'm trying to keep composed, but
I love it. I really do love it. You got big. As long as I see all my guests with a big smile on their face, then I know it's something good. And
yeah,
if because I'm very spiritual, if I can feel that energy from that person, then
yeah,
I know the connection is there, which is another
me too.
really authentic thing to have between obviously the interviewee and the interviewer. But my second to last question for you is,
Hmm.
you have a long way to go for this question, but I'm still going to ask. What would you like your legacy to be when you feel, and only when you feel, that you have done enough? You have been everywhere that you want to. You have traveled. You have acted as much as you could. You have written as much as you could. And you have directed with all your energy to inspire yourself and other people that you can. What would you like your legacy to be? But also, how would you like people to remember you as an individual?
Hmm. Wow, that is a beautiful and very interesting question. I I would say that I would like to be known as, well, first of all, for me, just making it as as an Italian female woman has that had little knowledge about anything that had to do um, with theater and film and writing and directing, and started um, learning about this at probably age 20 to 21. That is, for me, that would already be the accomplishment, just being that person as with all of the things that I've just mentioned. So Italian and the woman and everything like that, just making it and having my voice heard, not just because of being a woman, in the sense of, you're looking at me but you're not listening to me, and not just because of me being able to do the Italian stereotype of, hey, hey, anyone, not just which I'm also pretty good at doing. I enjoy doing that, but just being able to be remembered for something outside of those things is great.
Yeah,
The accomplishment is people seeing your work before seeing you,
true.
and because that's free of judgment. Then when they start associating it with who you are, there comes the dissection of things,
Yes.
which is part of it. So you've got to take the good and the bad, and that's great. But just accomplishing the fact that people would see my work one day, and see as per what it is, that would already be enough. Also, I would love, if I have to dream, I'm gonna dream. So I would love to be one of those directors that have specific traits to their work. Like when you watch a Tarantino film, you know that that's
Yes.
a Tarantino film. When you watch a Nolan film, you know that that's a Nolan film, or Kubrick, or I can name Lynch. So many I can name.
True, actually. Yeah.
And getting to that point of having your signature to everything that people see. They don't even have to know that it was you, but they just feel that it was you.
Yep.
That would be the thing. So I would like to be remembered as an Italian female version of a great director and actor and performer, and just being able to do all of those things at my best. It's not even about the fame. It's really not that. If you get, sometimes you get carried away and like, yeah, that wouldn't be bad at all, let's not lie here. But it's not about that. It's really not about that. It's just being heard, and having people connecting with everything that you do, and inspiring people as well. When
Yeah.
someone sees what you've done and they're like, just the way that a film like Dead Poet Society changed me. A film completely changed my way of seeing and doing things. How powerful is that? If I could do
That's
something like that with any of my film, even just for one person in the whole wide world, I would be done. I would be happy and satisfied.
See, I like that. I love the way that you went on a passionate tangent. It was so cool. I know when somebody is passionate about their work because they do that.
Yeah, that's.
They just go off, and I can just sit there and listen because I have a passion about just listening to people. People always think that you need to say something after somebody says something to you. You don't.
Mhm.
Silence also says so much.
Yeah, I feel like I have to be
It,
silent now.
no, not at all. You don't have. You've got to do the best part now,
Oh,
because the last question is:
yes.
I've had the pleasure of having you on the Us People podcast today, and it has flown by. But if anybody else would like to contact you or even find out more about you and what you do,
Mhm.
where can they?
Okay. So I'm just going to say as well that it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. And I'm sending virtual hugs to Savia for having me, and to everyone that has been listening to me blabbing for about an hour. I am really humbled and honored for the opportunity that you've given me, and the time that everyone is taking to listen to this. If any of you would want to reach out to me, or find me, you can find me on social media. So I'm on Instagram. You can just write my name, and that's Laura Mottola. I feel like I have to spell that out because it's a very it's an Italian name, so people might not really know how to spell that out. And I also have a my production company account on Instagram, and that's called Electric Lace Production.
Ooh,
Electric
I like that.
Lace. Thank you. So that's called Electric Lace Productions, and that's on Instagram. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn too, and yeah. So that's how we connected, and again, my name is Laura, spelled like Laura Mottola, Mottola. So yeah, I'm not sure if I can share my email address as well if anyone would want to. I'm not sure if that's appropriate or not.
I always say with email addresses
Yeah,
to people, they would like to contact you, they can contact me and
yeah,
I will ask you,
yeah,
and then or I'll introduce you through an email. And I find that safer
yeah. That
because
makes absolute sense.
an email is so personal, I think. To me, it's personal.
Mm,
And I know you can get it on your social media platforms as well if you look,
Yeah.
but then when you're talking to somebody, I just prefer it to be a little bit more secure.
Yeah. No, that makes
And
absolute sense.
this is where I say, and I like to protect people. I'm very protective. It's just how I am. So I'll say, guys, if you would like to get in touch, please send me an email because my email is absolutely everywhere and I don't mind.
Mhm.
Black belt in kung fu, so in karate, so I'll beat you up. No, I won't really. I'm also going to give you a big hug. But if you would like to get in touch with any of our guests that I have interviewed, please feel free to contact me and I will ask their permission, like I always do. And then when they say yes, I will happily connect you guys together. And then you guys can take it from there to know that I've done a great thing. So I'm happy with that. So this is where I say thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Ask People podcast. I've said it and I'll say it again. The time has absolutely flown, but
Absolutely.
it's been such a humble, authentic, and calming interview of wisdom, kindness, and goodness. So I give you all the positive energy that I can to say thank you to you so much. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the Young People podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I have loved every bit of it. And yes, 1 hour has flown by, and I don't even know. It feels like we started 5 minutes ago. To be fair, I could
Yeah,
continue
it does.
talking forever. So thank you so much. I feel recharged with positive energy, which is amazing as well. When you connect with other human beings, it's just really great to have that. And I was,
Yeah.
and you allowed me to feel to feel at ease and confident and just safe enough to tell my truth in a very peaceful and friendly environment. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, Savia.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast. And please remember you can subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Ask People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website or just typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
Of the night, you'll be guided through the light. Oh yeah.
Thank to you, because wow, that was amazing. That was really amazing. Thank you. Really, I mean, I meant every word of it. It was really amazing to be here and have this open and honest conversation with you.
Through this journey, leaving fear far behind. Hearts are full of courage. You can win if you try. Redirect the yes to you. You'll see the power in yes if you try.